In 2016, Steve Saleen, former race car driver and founder of California-based performance car manufacturer Saleen Automotive, entered into a joint venture in China. Everything seemed to be going great, but on June 29, 2020, when the company was getting ready to roll out its cars in China, it was nationalized by local Chinese Communist Party officials. Mr. Saleen's experience was just the tip of an iceberg. For the last few decades, the CCP has seized assets and intellectual properties from many foreign companies in China. What methods do CCP officials use? And how have the affected foreign business people responded? The lucrative business opportunity. Steve Saleen began his professional racing career in 1974 and set several track records. In 1983, he founded the Saleen brand. The company has been known for the Saleen Mustangs, which were featured in movies such as Transformers. In 2016, he and his American partner Charles Wang formed a joint venture with the government of Rugao, a city 120 miles north of Shanghai, China, to produce performance cars for Chinese car lovers. The company was named Jiangsu Saleen Automotive Technology. Based on the agreement, Mr. Saleen would bring his experiences, design, and technologies. The independent appraisal firms valued his expertise at $800 million, which gave him and Wang 2/3 of the company. The Rugao government would gradually provide $1.1 billion worth of funding for 1/3 of the stake. On top of that, the joint venture had been paying Saleen Automotive a lucrative consulting fee. In the fiscal year 2019, the fee totaled $10.7 million. By early 2020, the joint venture had recruited about 1,000 workers. Its factory was equipped with 470 state-of-the-art robots. Mr. Saleen and his partners were just waiting to begin production and selling more cars. As the old saying goes, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't true. And this story proved the point. The honeymoon ended. This year's lockdowns made it difficult to travel between the US and China. And as Mr. Saleen was stuck in California, the Rugao government took action. On June 29th, the city sent 6 police vehicles and vans with private security personnel to raid the factory. Some employees were forced to resign. The VP of Manufacturing, Frank Sturzer, and the Director of Corporate Affairs, Grace Yin, were held by the police. Sturzer was a German citizen and was let go 6 hours after contacting the German embassy. But Grace Yin wasn't so lucky. As a Chinese citizen, she was detained for a month for not willing to testify for the authorities' embezzlement allegations against Charles Wang. The city also claimed that Saleen's technologies were worthless and that its investment decision was based on false information. According to Mr. Saleen, the local government made Shanghai Wanlong Asset Appraisals, one of the 3 initial valuation firms, to deny issuing any valuation report in the first place, and it used the firm's statement against him. Contrary to the accusations, the officials did apply for 510 patents for Mr. Saleen's designs and technology behind his back, and many of the applications did not give him any credit. On top of that, the minority board members backed by the city government held a meeting to remove Mr. Saleen and Charles Wang from the board. This was clearly illegal. Even under China's corporate law, doing that would require the majority vote. Mr. Saleen finally realized the deal was a sham from the beginning. The local government meant to take his intellectual properties. Then it made the agreement void and forced the American board members to give up control. Mr. Saleen's case wasn't unique. A CNBC Global CFO Council survey conducted in the first quarter of 2019 showed about 30% of American companies believe they had been victimized by the CCP's intellectual property theft in the past 10 years. As he wrote in the Wall Street Journal article, quote, "My experience doing business in China shows the lengths to which the Chinese government will go to steal American intellectual property." But maybe he should feel lucky he wasn't in China when the bad news arrived. This was because another foreign businessman had a much more painful experience. The framed German businessman. Robert Rother is a German national who moved to China in 2004. His investment business had been very successful, and the sales once passed $100 million US. This allowed him to live a luxurious life like China's top elites. His problem began after he started an English language website named Finance China. This website was to provide information on the Chinese stock market. As Rother recalled, quote, "I bought the permit from the Chinese government. All the paperwork was legal. The website was a success. I invested a lot of money in it, paid high salaries to more than 30 financial analysts and interpreters to research the stock market and translate the news, and created a platform for foreign investors. A month before I was detained, I was told by an acquaintance that the Chinese government did not like my website and wanted to shut it down, Rother remembered. He believed the reason was the CCP does not like independent media. On May 20th, 2011, the heads-up became a reality. On the day I was detained, the police came to my apartment and told me to open the safe. I had jewelry, cash, and watches in there worth millions of dollars. Those were not on the list of seized items. The police just stole them, Rother stated. The lawyer hired for him by the German consulate waited 13 months to receive court documents. The lawyer was also denied access to the evidence, including Rother's laptop, which he says contained emails that could prove him innocent. Without confession or witnesses, Rother was charged for fraud, and he was sentenced to 8 years in prison. After I was sent to prison, I heard about other businessmen have been locked up for so-called corruption and fraud allegations, he told the reporter. What we had in common was having successful businesses in specialized areas, and then the Chinese government would just seize the companies and lock up the owners. Rother was locked up in a Dongguan prison, where he was forced to work 9 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 22 renminbis per month. Due to the large fine his mother paid to the CCP and the amount of forced labor he's done, Rother was released early in December 2018. But that was still 7 years and 7 months. He then wrote a book titled Dragon Years, 7 Years and 7 Months, How I Survived Prison in China. When it comes to the difference between the CCP and German courts, Rother commented, quote, "They are not comparable. China has no law. The police, the inspectors, and the judges are on the same boat. We are not sure how many foreign business people have lost their assets and were put into prison by the CCP's behind-the-scene legal system. But maybe we can find some statistics from the Taiwanese. 70,000 complaints by the Taiwanese. In 2014, there were hundreds of Taiwanese locked in a prison in Dongguan, China. One of them was Wu Wei-Kuo, former chairman of Zhuhai Nanker Electronics. He was known as the first Taiwanese businessman to invest in a silicon wafer plant in mainland China. In 1989, Taiwanese-American Wu Wei-Kuo founded Nanker in Zhuhai, China, a city that borders Macau. The company once employed over 2,000 workers, and Wu was one of the most welcome Taiwanese businessmen in the Guangdong province. But the good times were over by 2009 when the local government took his land through eminent domain. Mr. Wu believed he wasn't adequately compensated, and he received 18 million won after filing a complaint. After that, the Zhuhai State Taxation Administration alleged Wu for tax evasion and fined him several million won. Wu filed for administrative review. He believed the local tax authorities' action was illegal and reported it to the provincial government. On Christmas Day 2012, Zhuhai police grabbed Wu from a gathering for Taiwanese businessmen. The local authorities claimed Wu owed more than 12 million won, including the fine for tax evasion and late payment charges. The local police didn't release him even after Wu's family made payments in full. And the court sentenced him to 8 years in prison. He once said to his lawyer during a visit, "This is what happens to the Taiwanese businessmen who once looked forward to helping mainland China with its modernization." Kao Wei-Pang, the founder of the Victims of Investment in China Association, wrote a book named Investing in China, The Traps You Should Know. He analyzed 30 cases and summarized 12 traps in investing in China. These include, quote, fraud in the name of joint ventures, and robbery in the name of law enforcement. Preying on Taiwanese businessmen is the CCP's policy, Kao said. He believed whenever Taiwanese-owned businesses start making profits, they might become takeover targets for those backed by the CCP. Any resistance could lead to threats and illegal detainment. By 2017, Taiwanese investors had filed about 70,000 complaints to the CCP's Taiwan Affairs Office, based on Kao's statistics. The CCP claims most of the cases have been resolved, but Kao believes most victims would get back only 5 to 10 cents on the dollar. Will the CCP adopt the rule of law? On January 1st, the CCP just started enforcing its new regulation for implementing the foreign investment law. The law was to, quote, protect foreign investors' legal rights, increase the penalty for the act of intellectual property infringement, and equally protect foreign investors and foreign companies' intellectual properties. First of all, these regulations were supposed to be enforced as soon as China opened up its economy 40 years ago. And ironically, even after the announcement, the law still failed to protect Mr. Saleen's intellectual properties and ownership in the joint ventures. The rule of law is the best protection for intellectual properties and personal assets. It is certainly a good thing for China, but that is unlikely to exist under the CCP, who has to stay above the law to maintain its power. Like the Chinese people's constitutional rights to vote and free speech, the regulation will never be enforced against the CCP's interest. In his book, The Road to Serfdom, Nobel Prize winner Friedrich Hayek wrote, quote, "Nothing distinguishes more clearly conditions in a free country from those in a country under arbitrary government than the observance in the former of the great principle known as the rule of law." Therefore, under the CCP, the tragedies mentioned in this video could continue to take place. Like Mr. Saleen told Fox Business, "If it can happen to me, it can literally happen to anyone." What's your opinion about the non-financial risks involved with foreign investment in China? Leave your comments below. Thank you for watching Unseen Fortunes. If you enjoyed our content, please click like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you next time.